having worked at the frontiers of science and technology, I was at Bell Labs, and I can definitely say one thing, that I still remember that the systems that they had for research were uncomparable. So whatever little one has learned about research in the outward domain has been, at least in my life, the contribution of the West. But while they were progressing so much, you see in this room, everything that we have is basically from the West. All these discoveries, wonderful discoveries. But in the last many centuries, what has our country been doing? While I also learned what the West has done in the area of science and technology, I was able to also reflect on what this great country has also contributed, not just to India, but to the whole world. The development of a human being or development of a person obviously is not just economic development. So that balance between the two, the inward and the outward. The West was that in the outward domain, like economics, atomic energy, you name it, they are Marathis, they are like giants. But in the inner domain, that is in being able to balance things out, they are still pygmies. I say this because even to sort out a small problem in their lives, they have to go to what is known as a shrink, a psychiatrist. And this is happening in our country too now. So the development of the human being, while we are running after the West in science, technology, etc., etc., these areas which make us strong, fine human beings is being greatly neglected. And what role can science and technology play in sustaining such development, I would like to also mention. But before that, today the government, media, industry, parents, teachers, students and people in general are giving so much importance to subjects like engineering, medicine, business administration, mass communication, etc. And so little to our philosophy, our languages, our classical and folk arts, crafts and theatre. Consequently, the ability of society to recognize the subtle, the abstract, the inspiring and even the mystical is going down day by day. Top schools and colleges spend large sums of money and much effort on programs held by them at their institutions, many of which are very ordinary, but find it difficult to very partially support not so popular programs of our classical arts by some of our greatest masters. Here today, I went to this IPS, Allahabad University, Institute of Professional Studies. I was called to give a talk there, and there were about maybe 100 students there. And I asked them if they ever heard the names of some of the greatest masters of our country, like Srimati Kishori Amodkar. Just the name, not the music. The name of Ustad Ali Akbar Khasa. Not one student could raise their hands. I was so shocked. What is our education system doing? Are we only teaching engineering? Are we teaching only economics? What sort of children are we bringing into society who do not have the slightest understanding of, or even information in this day, in an age of information, they do not even know the names of some of the greatest contributors of our heritage. Elite schools give children the option of learning a number of foreign languages, but not maybe their own mother tongue. Terms like cultural extravaganza and mega event are commonly used in connection with many performances forcing events of a totally different inherent nature to also follow the popular Bollywood pattern. Culture is increasingly being treated as a market commodity to be bought and sold, and not for the upliftment of the individual for which it was mainly designed. Now, high quality programs connected with our heritage have to compete for media space and have a tough time being announced in the daily engagement columns of leading newspapers, while corporations spend crores of rupees publicizing their achievements in the press. You know, great classical musicians and dancers, and here I am not talking of dance and music as entertainment. I am talking of dance and music as a Naad Yoga. What the greatest contribution that India can give to the world in terms of the development of a human being is the concept of yoga, the concept of connecting with the within. Our ancestors have done very, very powerful experimentation to find out different ways, different forms of yoga, realizing the fact that there are differences between each individual and suggesting different ways to reach the top of Mount Everest internally. You have to go through many different things, cut and paste and find your own road. So when I talk of music, classical music and dance, I am not talking of a Rang Hari Sham. I am talking of it as a Naad Yoga, a means of connecting with the within. So great classical musicians and dancers have to either resort to diluting their presentations or be satisfied being sidelined in this increasingly market-driven world. Consequently, great discoveries of our inner self made by our ancestors and reflected through Drupad, Kudiyattam, Rudraveena, Sarangi, Rotuvadhyam. In this land, Allahabad, I'll say, I still remember this great master, Ram Kailas, who was a Biraha singer. He passed away some time back. And he used to come and say, Sahib, आप बिरहा के लिए कुछ करिए बिरहा खत्म हो रहा है आप एंड आई से भाई इतने लोग बिरहा गा रहे हैं आप क्यों ऐसा फिक्र करते शायद इतने लोग गा रहे हैं पर कोई नहीं गा रहा है तो these are some of the things which we have to think about when great masters say this. We have to think a little bit about what they are trying to say. They are not just trying to say an art form, but they are trying to say a way of going through life, a way of looking at life, save that. We have many young people learning the classical arts and yet very few true artists. We want full-time businessmen, but we are satisfied with part-time musicians and dancers. Every year, the Padma Awards are announced with music, dance and art all being lumped together under one head, art. For a person who is not aware of the fact that Pandit Ram Narayan is one of the greatest Sarangi players of our country, he could easily be mistaken for someone who paints. The Norwegian government spends approximately 160 crores. Norway's total population of 4.5 million is less than half that of the city of Delhi, to take its arts to schools all over the country. Over 99% of children there are exposed to this very important part of their heritage before they graduate from school. Mind you, they not only are looking at their own heritage, but they also are trying to see how heritage from other parts of the world can also be very valuable things can be brought into the lives of young people. And I'm just telling you, we have conducted in the last year 270 programs in Norway for children that small. I've gone and seen it myself. And the whole thing is being paid by the Norwegian government. In India, there is a struggle to get even a few lakhs from central and state governments or from private bodies. We are spending crores of rupees on other things for similar endeavors. You also look at how culture is treated now in our country. Previously, it was the Ministry of Tourism who incidentally also looked after culture. Then, it was the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting who incidentally looked after culture again. Today, we have a minister, a very good minister, no doubt. But the ministers of culture and poverty alleviation I do not understand the juxtaposition of poverty, alleviation and culture. Exactly, I mean, so, directly. There's a poverty alleviation from the inside, definitely I understand that, but I don't think they mean that. Promotion of cultural tourism takes far greater priority than many other areas, but the same is missing in the case supporting culture. Far greater priority than supporting culture itself. Great care is taken in the choice of a finance minister and ministers in many other areas, but the same is missing in the case of culture. The culture, and I'm not talking culture, I'm talking again saying this is the biggest contribution which India can make, not just to India but to the whole world. The culture ministry budget share is approximately 0.17% of the total budget. Due to this neglect, there is a lack of inner growth in society, which is resulting in overall decrease in the sensitivity of human beings. It is astonishing that not only ordinary people but the highest quarters in the land were able to justify what happened in Gujarat in 2002 and in Delhi in 1984. This is a symptom of grossness growing countrywide. The understanding of the inner space, once our greatest strength, is increasingly becoming less as the brightest opt for outward careers which make use of only a fraction of their potential. If you see great civilization, when we talk of any great civilization, you will see that they were very well off economically, obviously, but they were also very, very concerned about heritage and culture. If you look at the Roman civilization, where is it now? It's now in the museums. Greek civilization, Aztec civilization, Egyptian civilization, all these are in the museums. If you look at the Japanese civilization, and what I mean by these civilizations is a way of looking at life, a way of what we call development. That is what's gone into the museum. So what happened was, if you look at Japan, in its mad rush towards industrialization and towards making the growth rate go from 9% or 8% to whatever percentage it was trying to achieve, it lost its three ways of looking at life, that No, Kabuki and Bunraku. Suddenly, the Japanese people said, kya ho gaya? And they all stood up and they set up these three academies, one for No, one for Kabuki and one for Bunraku. But I'm really telling you, it's just not the same, because something is missing. I have myself seen them both in Japan and in India, and I can tell you there's something missing. And I'm requesting of all the young people here not to make the same mistake in our country. I'm also connected now with the Central Advisory Board for Education, and there, what we are trying to do is through Clarion, we have set up this ICT project, which will be, there will be a computer in every, hopefully, in every school in the country. And if that takes place, then we can prepare, we are also trying to develop software which will be beamed to these through internet, and if we can do it, I don't know how much we have to still see. But here's where technology can play a big role in sustaining this type of development. Also the young person. Today you can do so much, just at an individual level you can do so much through Facebook, through so many of these sites, just by passing down even names of great masters, if nothing else. It's something about them. Recently two great masters passed away. Two great people. Not masters of music, but they were great human beings. I say that because I was in close touch with them, and I can say that with full authority that they were great people. Ustad Rahim Fahimuddin Dagar and Ustad Asad Ali Khan. But nobody came to know. The great Ustad Asad Ali Khan which played this Rudra Veena, which your grandchildren will never see played in the Khandalwadi statue. but nobody learned it from him. So, you know what is happening? We have this very powerful movement by Anna Sahib Hazare called the Lokpal Bill, pushing for the Lokpal Bill, which is very, very important, no doubt, very strong, very nice. But a Lokpal Bill is not going to solve all the problems. It's like a danda. If somebody doesn't do it right, give them a danda. But what has happened here, in this particular thing, if we are able to bring the heritage into the lives of young people, then I don't think there may be even need for a Lokpal Bill. Because if you go to any of these great masters, you will find, and I can really tell you again out of what I have seen with my own two eyes, when we went to meet Ram Chatur Malik ji in Darbhanga, in Bihar, he lived in a small place. He had one wooden bed, one bicycle, and two tangaras. And in his eyes, you could see that he had not missed even this much in life. I went to Ustad Bismillah Khan, living in his top Barsati, in his kacha and his banyan. In his eyes, you could see not out of martyrdom, not out of martyrdom. He didn't miss a BMW, he didn't miss an aircraft, he didn't miss any of these things. You could see it in his eyes. And I can give you many, many such examples. What I am requesting all the young people here is, while you are attempting to become the CEO of HLL, please keep this in mind, that there are alternate ways of being very in a state of, what I use the word of ananda. And we should also look at that as an alternate way of life also. I am not saying that you quit everything and go to mountain Himalayas. I am not trying to say that. You can be the CEO of HLL and yet be a yogi. A yogi is just a person connected with the within. And I think you can do anything you want. You can do it much, much, much better if you are connected with your within. And I want to read one little piece before I end. Another piece which I wrote. And this was when the great master whom I just mentioned passed away. Two small pieces I read. Then end on. And maybe also the Rudavina. When Ustad Asad Ali Khan passed away a few days ago, this I wrote very soon after he passed away, it suddenly struck me that the future generations would not possibly hear the Rudavina played in the majestic Khandarwani style that he had mastered. A legacy passed down through many generations has only one doubtful inheritor. When the tiger was getting extinct, the dwindling numbers were carefully recorded and great efforts were and are being made to make sure that our children and their progeny do not miss out on this beautifully evolved animal. However, treasure chests of our heritage have just disappeared and very little attention is being paid to the fact. It may be argued that Darwin's theory of evolution would necessitate the birth of new forms emerging from the old. If anything can positively, deeply affect